Welcome to the Learning Zone with Miss Beachley, Miss Hall, and Miss Bates.
Hi second graders, welcome to another video. Today is Crazy Sock Day. I have my little kitty socks on since I have a very cute kitty of my own. So I hope you guys are learning from home with your comfy, cozy, crazy socks on today. All right, so to get started, I'm going to tell you again what standard we're working with for this week. This week we will be telling a story or recount an experience with appropriate facts, relevant descriptive details, speaking audibly in coherent sentences. So this is the standard that we'll be working on throughout the week. And today's objective, since yesterday we worked on our we worked on our pre-write. Today we're going to be working on our draft. So our objectives for today, see them? Students will generate a draft by selecting and organizing ideas relevant to topic, purpose, and genre. Students will also be using complete sentences with a beginning, middle, and end. So these are our objectives that we're going to be focusing on today. We're really working on creating a first draft for our writing piece. All right. If I can review with you the writing process. The first part we did yesterday, which was our pre-write. We were thinking about our topic and brainstorming our ideas. The second part is drafting. That's where we put our thoughts onto the paper. So I have a few things I want to show you. The first thing is what we worked on yesterday. So yesterday I asked you guys to create a web and you were putting your experience in the center and your details on the side. Okay, we had beginning, middle, end. We had setting, characters, problem, and solution. Okay, so this should still be in your journals from yesterday. We're really going to be using this to help us today. What you will need for today's lesson is a blank piece of paper in your journal. So everything I'm telling you that you can do it right inside of your journal. So I went ahead and I made kind of a lined piece of paper because this paper was not originally lined. Again, remember you have your name at the top, the date below your name, the subject, and what this assignment is. Okay, so the subject is writing, and this is our draft. Okay, so make sure this goes at the top of your journal page. I'm going to be using this so that you guys can see what I'm working on. So this is going to be in your journal. Now, the next thing we're going to be doing is taking a look at this form that I made. Okay, you're going to make this inside of your journal as well. Okay, you want to have on the first line, you want to have title of your story, the hook, and I'll explain what that is. You want the setting, characters, and beginning, middle, end. So you're going to recreate this document in your own journals. I'm going to hold this up here so that you can finish. And I'll be using this as well. So you remember title, hook, setting, characters, beginning, middle, and end. This is going to be an outline for your draft. Okay. Wonderful. So those are the two pieces of paper that you'll need. All right. Before we start writing, I want us to go over quickly some transitional words. We're going to be using some of these words when we are creating our first draft of our writing piece. So if you take a look at this anchor chart, which is also in your packet, okay, it says that you can use words like first, next, then, and last. On this document, it tells you all the different words that mean first, tells you all the different words that mean next, then, and last. Okay, they're all in these boxes here. Okay, so for example, first it says to start with, to begin, one day. In the first place, it all began. Those are some things that you can say instead of saying, first this happened, okay? Secondly, after, a while, now, later that day, additionally, the very next time. Okay, these are all things that you can say instead of saying, next, I went to the park. Okay, so these are all different things that you can say instead of that. You have then, the next, during the next day, afterwards, after I, later, after a few, as soon as, all of a sudden, things like that. And then the final column is last. So other words for last would be finally, to summarize, in conclusion, as you can see, it all comes down to at the end of the day. Okay, so those are just some examples. So if you want to have a better look at this, make sure you go in your packet and grab your anchor chart that says transition words. We're going to be using these to create our draft today. All right. I'm going to pause there and ask if there are any questions. Good question, Archie. So the hook is what is going to get our readers excited and ready to read what we are going to be writing. So a hook would be something that's going to grab your reader's attention. Okay, so it has to be something that's very exciting for your reader to read. For example, something that's not so exciting to read would be one day You're not really saying a whole lot there. You're just beginning your story with kind of that first step or first thing that happened in your day, okay? So you're going to want to use some descriptive words. So my hook is going to be, it was a beautiful, sunny, and warm day. Okay, that's going to be my hook. And I'm actually leaving my title blank for right now because I'm going to come back to figure out what my title is going to be. So for right now, my hook is a beautiful, sunny, and warm day. Okay, you want to include next, you want to include your setting. Okay, so if you remember when I created my chart here, I said my setting was daytime, it was outside in the mountains, and it was in Wyoming. Okay, so on my paper here, where it says setting, I'm just going to continue on with this sentence. So right now I have, it was a beautiful, sunny, and warm day at the Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming. Okay, so that is going to be all one sentence. Okay, I just have them separated for now so that I made sure I included my hook as well as my setting in one sentence. You don't have to do that. If you want to do two separate sentences, that's fine, but I combined these two. Okay. Next would be characters. You want to introduce your characters pretty early on in your story. So after you give the setting, the time, and the place of where the story takes place, I want you to make sure you include your characters, a little something about them. So for my characters, I have my mom, my dad, and my sister. So I'm going to write this sentence. Every summer, my mom, dad, sister, and I go on a week-long hiking trip. Okay, so right there, that sentence is introducing all the characters that are going to be in my story. I have given you all of that information of who is in the story. Okay, now I'm going to move on to the beginning, middle, and end, and you already have this written down in your web. Okay, so I want you to take a look here, make sure you're looking at what you wrote for the beginning, the middle, and the end of your story. So I'm going to use this to help me. The beginning, we hiked. I wrote, my parents and my sister and I hiked up the mountain for 3 hours, playing and having fun until we got to the top. So I'm going to write exactly what that says. Okay, but for sake of time today, I'm just going to write a first couple words because it's all on my chart already. Okay, so I am copying exactly what I wrote in my web for beginning, middle, and end. I'm copying that directly on my paper, except that this time I'm making sure that I have full, complete sentences. So one of our objectives here was students will use complete sentences with a beginning, middle, and an end. Okay, so your beginning, middle, and end need to be all complete sentences instead of fragments. When you're working on your pre-write, it's okay not to have full sentences yet, but you need to make sure that you have those for your first draft. Okay. All right. Now that I've finished my hook, my setting, my characters, beginning, middle, and end, I'm going to go back and think about a title for my story. Because my story was more of an adventure story, I'm going to write my Grand Teton Adventure. And you can always come back and change your title if you think of something that will be better later. So if I'm just picking this title for now, I have lots of time because good writers are never finished their work. So I can have a lot of time to think about if this is really the title that I want for my story. So tomorrow, we will begin our first draft, or I'm sorry, our second draft. This is your first draft. You'll start your second draft, which is already in your journal. So don't worry about anything, putting anything onto your paper for right now. Tomorrow we will begin revising and adding. We're actually going to add some details tomorrow and make sure that our writing grabs our reader's attention. Okay, so this will be for tomorrow. Your assignment for today is to complete this graphic organizer or this layout for your first draft. So make sure you include a title, hook, setting, your characters, a beginning, middle, and an end. Okay, and one more thing before I let you go. The beginning, middle, and end, you should always include a problem as well as the solution. Okay, so within your beginning, middle, and end, you need to make sure that you identify what the problem of your story is and how it was solved. So if I read mine out to you, I can identify the problem and the solution. Okay, so this is I'll start at the very beginning. My story is called My Grand Teton Adventure. It was a beautiful, sunny, and warm day at the Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming. Every summer, my mom, dad, sister, and I go on a week-long hiking trip. So here starts my beginning. My parents, my sister, and I hiked up the mountain for 3 hours, playing and having fun until we got to the top. Here's the middle. All of a sudden, we heard thunder and quickly had to go back down the mountain. Okay, so there's my first problem. We heard thunder. That was an issue because you could really get hurt if lightning strikes at the top of the mountain. Okay, so there's the problem. It's in my middle section. This is the end. My leg started to hurt and I wasn't sure I would be able to make it down. Okay, so remember that's the second problem. Stories can have more than one problem going on. So I wasn't sure, I was a little scared, I wasn't sure if I was going to make it down the mountain. And this is my last part of my sentence. My sister helped me and I made it to the car safely. Now that would be the solution to the problem. Everyone was safe. I was able to make it down off the mountain, even though my leg was in pain. So you want to make sure that within your beginning, middle, and end that you're including your problem of your story as well as the solution. Okay, happy writing.